My name is Kelvin Ashi. I'm a technology entrepreneur and innovation consultant. Welcome to today's session, organized and curated by Wete Group, home of, Ijula, home of Wete Group. So today's session is about collaboration Unbound, the gateway to globalizing the Ghana digital ecosystem. What do we mean when we say we are globalizing? What do we mean when we say we are collaborating Unbound? Today we have some of Ghana's finest digital pioneers from different aspects of the industry here with us to share thought-provoking nuggets and also to come out with, real outcomes of this discussion. But before we proceed, I would like to invite Madam Zulaiha Adams, who will give us a brief overview of the Wete Group and Ijula. Zulaiha. Okay, so it looks like Madam Zulaiha is unable to join us, but I'll just give a brief overview. So, Wete Group is a group which is pushing the frontiers of discussion of a self-reliant Africa. It's a group which has different arms. We have Wete Ventures, Wete Creative, and other aspects of the group which pushes the boundaries of what it means to have a self-reliant Africa. We run Ghana's leading creative hub inside Hacho. It's a beautiful, magnificent place, number 14 Hacho Atomic Road. So you can do well to pass by. We have a very vibrant space over there, and we're looking forward to having all of you there. So before we start the conversation, I'd just like to give the opportunity to our speakers to give a brief introduction about themselves and what they do and how they found themselves here. So I'd like to start with Mr. Jamal Mathis.
Is this on? Hello everyone, how you doing? My name is Jamal Mathis. I am the co-founder of Crofo Systems. We are a cybersecurity service provider, provide cybersecurity consulting, education and training, vulnerability and risk assessments, policy management, and continuous monitoring, or network monitoring, however you want to word it. Our goal here in Ghana is to help spread the awareness of cybersecurity and the importance of cybersecurity being a part of your life. Your literally everyday life. Since everything is connected to the network, you need to always remind yourself that your digital data, your information, should always be protected. You can always expect a corporation to maintain your data or the government to hold your data. You must be responsible for your data and hold others accountable who hold on to your data. I think that's a little bit of, we're a startup company. We just got here in Ghana. We rebranded ourselves through the Wete Group, an amazing marketing and branding company. And I wanted to thank Ms. Shishi here for allowing us to be on this platform.
All right, so my name is Diana Kufu. I am a brand strategist and a digital entrepreneur. So I work in digital marketing, and so I have a digital marketing agency called Brand Up Guys. So what we do is provide marketing services for startups. And we also are building a crowdfunding platform for creatives that want to explore the creative space with some funds, right? So basically that's much about me. Kelvin here is also my leader at the World Economic Forum's Global Shapers Accra Hub. So,
Thank you. I'll just pass this.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joshua Pukwajuman. I'm the president for Ghana STEM Network. So with the Ghana STEM Network, our vision is to create a platform where we can bring all the stakeholders in the educational industries together to drive Ghana's transition to more practical and sustainable education with focus on STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So we work with government, we work with private sectors, individuals who are also driving the same agenda in the country. I'm also the president for IoT Network Hub, which is an organization that focuses on exploring emerging technologies. So we're looking at AI, IoT, 3D printing, robotics. These are new technologies in our generation that are going to create a whole new emerging economies. And as an organization, our goal is to build more talents in this new emerging field so that we'll be able to build more industries in that area. We work with governments through STEM education and training of teachers in STEM. We work with private sectors to build maker spaces and labs across the regions of Ghana. And we do a lot of research and innovation, of which we have a booth here. You could pass by and see some of the innovations that we're working on. Thank you.
So good afternoon. My name is Dario. I'm the Chief Digital Officer at MTN here in Ghana, the telecom operator. I look after everything digital, so when you're using my MTN and it's not working, it's my fault, most probably. Or when you use it and you love it, it's still my fault. So looking forward to the session and to discuss more what we are doing to really support startups and the digital ecosystem here in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you for the warm round of introductions, and we'll just get straight into the action. So, when we talk about Ghana's digital ecosystem, we've come a long way from dial-up connections to now broadband connectivity, and we are now in the fourth industrial revolution with 5G networks, IoT, cloud computing, AI, and blockchain shaping our ecosystem, right? There are different levels of innovation happening, right from grassroots level innovation to large multinational and corporate, and also government and public institutions building systems that help to make our life and our society better. So with all these moving parts and with all of you having unique hats you're wearing, I believe that all these players have tried to do something great, right? When you talk about cybersecurity, when you talk about digital work, when you talk about startups, when you talk about large multinationals, they've all tried to shape a new future. But sometimes it looks like we have, these players acting in silos. We have government trying to maybe innovate in spaces that maybe some will feel should better be left for private sector, right? And this sometimes slows down the pace of our accelerated growth, right? So taking that off, we want to, really define and encapsulate what collaboration means for our industry, right? What does collaboration look like from a Ghanaian perspective, right? I'd like to start with you, Jamel. And from the work you do, what does collaboration look like from how you operated maybe 5-10 years ago when you started operations, or even before that, right? And how it is now. What's the space like here?
So the question you're asking is, how has cybersecurity evolved with the movement of technology as technology has innovated? Cybersecurity has been behind. It's been lagging behind innovation because it's very hard to get people's mindset to understand security over fun. Security usually means inconvenience. So therefore, inconvenience means I don't want to do it. But I think now, in the recent years, everyone's taking it very seriously now. You used to have to beat security into people's head, literally, for them to understand that if you don't protect this, it's going to get stolen, or it's going to get damaged, or it's going to get manipulated. Now, especially governments, since a variety of ransomware attacks, everyone now gets the picture of how vulnerable their networks really are and the type of focus they need to put into it in order for it to work. I would say education and training has stepped up a lot because regardless of the newest innovation and technology that you have, the weakest link to any network is the user. So the person using it is usually the one that's going to create the hack or start the hack themselves. So I would say right now, cybersecurity and innovation are almost neck and neck now because everyone is now thinking about cybersecurity as they innovate.
Okay, thank you. It's really, I mean, interesting how you juxtapose how cybersecurity and innovation are going neck and neck, and yeah, I'll just like to dovetail off of that and ask Dario a question. So, I mean, MTN Ghana has really played a huge role in Ghana's digital space when it comes to telecommunications and connectivity over the past 2.5 decades. A lot of work has been done, and with that, MTN's role looks to be redefining, right? I'd like you to talk about how your systems, I mean, both internally and externally, has enabled that kind of innovation to happen, and what that is looking like for the future. Yeah.
Thank you. So there's no digital without internet. There's no internet without a telecommunication network. So we believe we are at the center and the key enabler of digital in the country. And this starts with making sure that we provide good connectivity, not only in Accra, in Kumasi, but everywhere in the country. Make sure that everybody can enjoy our internet everywhere they go. That's the fundamental, and we are not going to move away from this. We are investing every year between 100, 150, 160 million dollars in expanding the network, modernizing the network, making sure that when you connect, when you try to watch a video, when you try to do something on your phone or on your computer, you have the best experience. Say that we are also at the point where we want to evolve, and our strategy at group level, but also here in Ghana, is to become a platform player. So making sure that we have platforms so that the other digital players in the country can just jump on our platforms. So we launched a couple of years ago the mobile money open API, where so any business can simply, I would say, go on our website and start using our API to collect mobile money. We are working on other platform around Clinosis, our other APIs. We have our super app, Ayoba, that recently achieved 2 million customers here in Ghana. So the key thing, what we want to do is to basically open up. We don't want to be MTN only for MTN customers and then just provide data and voice, but we want to become a platform. Last year, we launched on MyMTN, for example, you can buy now airtime for Vodafone and for Airtel Tigo directly from MyMTN app, something that even, 2 years ago people would have said, what are you doing? Are you crazy? And still some of my colleagues in the other countries, they still think that we are crazy. But we believe we are enablers and we want to be a platform, so we want to open. So what we are working on now, the next few months, hopefully we're going to start enabling credit card payments on our platform. Not everybody has MOM, although majority, but we want to start accepting other payment methods. So the objective is to really be a platform, and anybody should be able to jump on our platform, use our tools, our APIs, our data to then create other digital experiences.
Thank you very much for the submission. And Diane, I'd like to come to you. Like Darius said, MTN has tried to open up the ecosystem in a platform kind of way, right? And with the work you do as a digital marketing strategist, I'm sure the way you work has changed pretty much a lot post-COVID, right? Um, what has been a defining change for you, right, in terms of how you work individually and also like for your clients, right? What are, I mean, some of the, successes and also challenges that you have experienced from how you work here?
So personally, I think that working with different people is always very interesting, and especially in Ghana, where people don't really understand the digital space. I can see someone smiling because it's a challenge. You always have to keep explaining what the processes are and bring it to the layman's perspective for the person to understand. And so post-COVID, I think it was that wake-up call for everyone that they need a digital marketer in their business, because you can't just sit at home and then, think that, oh, you're going to get clients. COVID taught us a lesson that you need to be in the digital space and you need to invest in being in the digital space. And so working with different people was very interesting for me. Post-COVID, now it's even though it's still difficult because people haven't grasped the concept yet, but it's better. And I think as time progresses, it's people will come to understand that, you're leaving a lot of money on the table if your business is not on the digital space. You're just wasting a lot of time because you can make so much, especially with e-commerce brands. People don't know that you can use data to track exactly how your business is doing, and you can track your return on investment. And people think being in the digital space is just posting something and then all of a sudden you have clients. There's a strategy behind it. A lot goes into what is posted. A lot goes into how it's posted. And even little things like color can deter people from clicking something. And, it takes a lot for the average Ghanaian to understand that even color can, deter people from making a purchase. So it's a lot of trainings. I've done a lot of trainings to train people for them to understand that being in a digital space is relevant. And you can't say that you are running a business and your business has no social presence. Right now, it's very important because when you tell someone about your business, the first thing they might do is Google it. Or they might try and search you on Instagram, Facebook, and see how your business is doing there, right? And so it's extremely relevant, and working post-COVID has been still challenging, but we're still trying to sail through.
Great, great. We are still trying to sail through. Okay, Joshua has been sailing through a lot. I've known Joshua for a couple of years, and he's pioneered a lot of innovations, homegrown innovations, in the space. And just with that background, I know some of the challenges, but what has the journey been like for you, right, in terms of you as an entrepreneur and a community builder, especially, right? You are driving multiple communities like the Ghana STEM Network, the IoT Hub, right? And you have collaborated a lot with a lot of players in the space. What does that look like for you from, driving things as an entrepreneur and also building communities? Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I think I started my journey 10 years ago in the tech ecosystem. At the time, it was difficult to learn everything. So if you don't have a center who can train you how to program, our universities weren't teaching programming. And those that were learning programming, they were coding on paper, right? So how do you compile software programs on paper? Right? So that led to starting IoT Network Hub. We saw that we need to get people coming together to learn new skills and technologies that are not being taught in school. Now, when you talk about emerging technologies too, we're looking at AI, robotics, artificial intelligence. We don't have curriculums for these technologies that are shaping our world in our universities. There's no courses on this. So it was difficult at the time to get a place to learn some of these things. So that was what gave birth to the IoT Network Hub. So we decided, why can't we come together, start exploring IoT, start exploring robotics, AI, 3D printing. And we had no resources at the time. We're young guys who came together. So we were fortunate to have a center, the Kofi Annan Center, offering us a space to have a meetup once in a month. We decided to use that resource we had at the time to start exploring. And today we have so many centers, people always calling us to come and use their space for meetups. The journey has been hard. IoT Network has been running for 6 years, and we registered as non-for-profits. That means we need to find ways to get money to run. Today we have over 20,000 members in 20 African countries. Our work has been featured by Forbes, United Nations, BBC, among others. So I wouldn't say it's easy, especially when you're doing a social enterprise, knowing that the work you're doing is not for money, but for impact. Even if money will come, it's after the impact can be felt. It means you have to love what you do. So I would say true passion is what had kept us going. The fact that we are happy doing what we're doing, the fact that we are the first people to be doing things that probably most people are not be thinking about, the fact that we are seeing a future in the distance that most people are not seeing, it was something that kept us going. Now, when it comes to the Ghana STEM network, we also see the skill gap in our country today, that we have over 120,000 students graduating from university, only 20% get job after national services. So you have over 100,000 students who are not getting employed after spending 4 years in the university. And this was a bigger challenge that we were looking at to address. So we saw that if we could have practical learning, that's a STEM education, from the basic level, students will learn critical thinking, collaboration, teamwork, problem solving, creativity. So by the time they get to high school, at least they have been able to build some skills. If you're not able to go to university, you should be okay to learn some skills and then get a work to do. I am a high school graduate. I haven't been to university, but the things I've learned to learn and the things I can do, you barely get a number of university graduates who can be able to do the same thing. So we believe that if we can teach people how to learn, they can learn for life. But if we teach them what to learn, they're always limited to what they learn. And when they find themselves in an environment where they have to learn something new, it becomes hard for them. So the Ghana STEM Network wants to ensure that the new generation of young people coming from school will be prepared for this future. We're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, where there's a report by McKinsey Global that says by 2030, we're going to have 800 million job loss globally. Africa already suffering from unemployment. Who is creating the new emerging industry? The old industries are also fading away. So we believe if we can start building talent in emerging field, they can now create the emerging industries that in the next 5-10 years to come could be the sustainable industries that we could recruit more people into. So collaboration has always been key. Without collaboration, there's nothing we could have done. And we always encourage collaboration. We collaborate with academias, with industries, with governments, with anybody who believes in what we do. We're always open for collaboration.
Well, thank you very much for the submission. A lot of depth in that, and I mean, your talk about collaboration and I mean really teaching people how to learn. I mean, strike a chord. Jamal, so I mean, with in terms of collaboration, right? For Ghana to compete globally, we have to be able to, I mean, collaborate amongst ourselves and also, I mean, internationally. How is cybersecurity driving that in terms of, I mean, the robustness of platforms, right? Darius spoke about platforms. Diane spoke about new opportunities and competing and all of that. How is our cybersecurity space currently driving that? And I mean, what can we do to get to that level?
Okay, so the cybersecurity space is more of a collaboration than it is a competing. So we're kind of already doing it. once a threat is detected or a virus is notified, we consider those zero-day attacks. Those are immediately shared with all the other cybersecurity organizations that deal with that vulnerability, that assessment in itself. And then they in turn find the what the vulnerability is, or what the hack has done, and get the information out to the rest of the administrators so they can administer the patch to fix whatever it was that was the initial threat. In regards to the private sector, I would say collaborating in regards to cybersecurity is just as important. But how? I guess that's the question. How can an entrepreneur be able to be more cybersecurity and collaborate with other people? I can do a simple one. My MTN, I got a text message talking about a reward you got from MTN for your business. Thank you for starting your business. Click on this link, and MTN is going to give you 500 CD for starting your business. You might not like that one, but you click on it because you thought what it was, and then found out it was a hack. Immediately reported to MTN, and then let all your other business people know about it as well. Hey, there's a hack out there. I was vulnerable. I got hit. The MTN is trying to figure it out now, but if you got the same text, delete it. Don't touch it. That's how you can collaborate with each other. If your business got attacked, tell other business owners, hey, this is what happened. This was the email that came in. You guys need to be aware of this. Tell your IT team to put in a filter in their emails so they can look for the subject line of what that was, and they can block it before it gets to their network. Because if it happened to you 9 times out of 10, it came from a contact list that they got from somebody else who may have been compromised. So this is just a matter of time before they get to your network. So that's one way of collaborating, is awareness and letting others know. I know it's very hard for major corporations to do this because of the accountability. They can't really say, hey, we got attacked. We have to first analyze, look at it, and make sure the information is done. But once you've made that assessment, no one should find out 3 months later. Get the information out, because the faster that's done, then the quicker they can resolve the problem. And then therefore your threat surface, or that the attack surface of the entrepreneurs, is minimized.
Thank you very much. I'll come back to that conversation. Yeah, but I'd like Deanne to touch on something. Deanne, what's the biggest hurdle you've had to cross, or the biggest challenge you are currently facing in terms of trying to collaborate locally? Have you, tried to reach out or collaborate with, a startup or a larger company? And in your experience, what is a way around that, and what can you do in terms of, in a way to help you compete globally? Yeah.
Okay. So, being a digital entrepreneur, one of the things that we're big on is collaboration, right? So I remember we started Userlands Africa, where we were trying to create a platform for remote workers, right? And one thing about competition in Ghana is, once you start something and someone, sees the glimpse of it, they don't want to come and ask what's going on, what are you trying to do. You see replications of what you're trying to do everywhere. And sometimes it's difficult because you're trying to come into a space with ideas, and then you start to build something, and then you see so many people taking from you. So how, one of the ways that we try to, because when we launched the company, we launched straight into a scalable period, and we were not ready for that intake of users. We had about 20,000 plus people sign up, and this was across 120 countries. And so we realized that the people here were the least on the platform. And the target was for the people here. And so in this way, we try to collaborate with training agencies to see if we can get people in. What we realized was that people did not really understand what was going on. And so it was very difficult because during this collaboration, you have to train the people again on how to use the platforms. And at that time, we did not have the capacity to train people to use the platform. What we were doing, we were a team of 3. And so you can imagine that you starting something and then it blows out of proportion and you are unable to handle all the inflow of people. And so we had to, step back and then go and work on it properly before coming out again. So this was a major challenge. And being in the digital marketing space, there's so many ways that we collaborate with people. And one of the things that I've done is provide digital marketing services for businesses that I know can't afford it, right? Sometimes I see the potential in the business and I'm like, well, maybe you could go this way, but right now you are here because you don't know what to do in the digital space. You don't know how relevant the digital space can be for you. And personally, I found so many opportunities by just being in the digital space, just creating a brand for myself in the digital space. So I feel like businesses can do better in the digital space. So I try to collaborate with people that I know can't afford digital marketing. They don't know much about it, and it could help them in the long run. So that's how I've been collaborating with people.
Thank you very much, Diane. Dario, so, Diane spoke about how, platforms has helped drive collaboration, right? And also earlier, you mentioned how MTN is also trying to push, collaboration by being ahead, so to speak, or setting an example. And you use the example of, airtime purchases on the My MTN app for other networks as a use case. What other use cases have you, pushed, or are you trying to push that you feel can help Ghanaian businesses and startups, compete globally, right? In terms of connectivity, in terms of, open APIs, in terms of even mobile money, right? What are some of the things that, based on what you are able to share, that MTN is already doing or is looking to do that can help, push Ghana's digital ecosystem?
So I think there are few things we are trying to do and few things we are trying to influence. So one of the key barriers that we have in Ghana is, of course, the cost of a smartphone. So going back to my initial statement, there's no digital without internet. There can be internet without a smartphone. And then if you really want to make sure that you can build a business out of it, it must be a decent device. And that's the main barrier that we have right now. In Ghana, we have roughly 50% smartphone penetration. So there are still 50% of our customers still are on basic phones, on young phones. So what we're trying to do is to really work, with the government, with the financial institutions, to really build a way for anybody to afford a smartphone that is a good smartphone, not something that you can't even use after a few hours. So, and that is a major hurdles that we have. Now, when we move to people and businesses who already have connectivity, then we are trying to open up and become a platform. So just to give you some example. So the first one is, of course, Momo Open API, where we already have few hundreds of companies using our APIs. The other one that we are about to launch is an API that it's a very simple and basic use case, but for many fintech is very, very important. That is, we know that here in Ghana, a lot of people do SIM swap. So you take your SIM card, then you lose it, and you take a SIM card with no number, and then you do a swap, and so on. Now, what happens is that SIM swap is a very, very simple way of getting the details of somebody. So that's why if you want to do, like, for example, access somebody's identity and so on, SIM swap is one of the ways we do that. So we developed recently an API where a business who wants to use this API can check any mobile number, and then the API will come back and say, yes, these numbers got a SIM swap 24 hours ago or not. In case you see a very recent SIM swap, you could argue that maybe there could be a sort of fraud there. So the idea is to give to businesses, and this again is the first example, but there will be many others, ways to improve their business and potentially for this specific case is to reduce fraud. Another use case, somebody recently, we got approached by a company who would like to know where there are concentration of people. So because we manage a mobile network, we know very well when there is a concentration of people. If we could expose this data to a business, then they could send agents there and increase their business, for example, or anything around traffic. So there are many, many use cases. So what we are trying to do now is to
recently I've received
build a
series of
better
trainings
governance
using
around our
other
data and
outlets.
then
So
start
I think
exposing
Facebook
this
and then
data to
Google My
businesses.
Business is the one that has been pushing
So that
the
they
business
can
and making sales for me.
make a better use of it and build a business around the data that we can provide them.
Any other question from our judges?
Thank you very much.
Your last
Joshua,
campaign.
I'd like you to take this
do you have
next question.
figures?
I mean,
you know, what
the conversation has
results
really
were?
evolved in terms of how we are acting as individuals in our spaces, and also now how we are collaborating in terms of, I mean, building new systems or being an enabler to
Coming.
new environments.
Even
right?
just yesterday, somebody
What
called and was like, I saw you do a post some time back and I want to purchase your product. So with
Yeah, so,
time, it
in
picks,
terms
and then,
of,
anytime I have
I mean,
a call on
the work,
my product,
the
people
work
want to purchase.
you
I
are
try to
doing,
find
or
out
you are
which of the
currently,
platforms
pushing,
are they getting it
especially
from.
with
The first I was
IoT
advised to
Network
use the
Hub.
Google My Business. I was a bit skeptical. When
during
I tried
COVID,
it, I
I
think
know
most
you,
of the time,
you came up with a
when
lot
people
of
search, that one pops up and then leads
innovations,
to my
right?
Facebook and then
Both hardware
IG
and
page
software
for people to
innovations.
get in touch
And
with me.
in other places, I mean, I was really monitoring.
Any
in
more
other places
questions?
across the world, there was a lot of support from, I mean, government and even private sector.
I want to
right?
ask,
but
are you the one
sometimes
that
we
handles
don't
your
we don't
digital
get the
marketing?
same kind of
And
support and
also,
push.
like, what's
I
your
mean, locally,
next
right?
campaign?
What
Their
what does that
strategy.
mean? I mean, for us, I mean, as entrepreneurs, and also for us as an ecosystem trying to compete, and what can we do to really change that narrative?
Thank you once again. So I think when it comes to the startup ecosystem,
So, and what's your upcoming?
a lot is
campaign,
happening
as in
at the
your
moment.
strategy? Yeah.
The hubs in all the regions of Ghana doing a lot of capacity building accelerator programs. However, the injection of cash that needs to be pushed into all this ecosystem, I don't think it's much. I think we need to prioritize startups in the country, because if we're going to create more jobs, build new industries, I don't think it's government's work
Well said.
to create
Thank you
more
very
jobs
much, Frederick.
and build new companies. I think it's the work of the private sector, the startups, and the government should create an enable environment to even attract investors. If government does not have the internal revenue, the enable environment alone could also pull a lot of investments down to our ecosystem to be able to help the startups who are building innovations. Government had a program coming out called the Youth Start, which has been piloted. Hopefully, this could also bring more cash, because they are bringing a number of banks together to have some incentives so that startups can easily access funding. Such initiatives, we need more of that. And every country push a lot of money into startup. It's a bet. It's a gamble we have to play. That out of the money we invest into startup, one success could be able to help the nation and build and drive it to the next economic development. If we take Silicon Valley, Shanghai, Israel, the government were intentional and deliberate, pushing money into a specific area because they knew that that's where the future is going to be. So if we look at our economy today, we're looking at the fourth industrial revolution, emerging technologies. These are tools, powerful tools that are going to reshape our future. If we get intentional, we start investing a lot of money into this to get new startups that are building the AI companies, the robotics companies, the IoT companies, the cyber companies, the cloud computing companies locally, then we could have a new breed of startups that can be able to create more jobs and then pull more money down here. Until we get intentional and deliberate about some of these things, I don't think we can ever get there. Because the rate at which other countries are investing in these technologies to build new startups, I don't think we are doing that same level of investment. So I think when we need enabling environments, we need good policies, we need incentives, then we need to be able to also integrate innovation into our education. Because the people who are building startups are mostly the same students who come out of university, maybe out of frustration, they don't have a job, they want to start their own company. But that shouldn't really be the case. It should be problem-solving approach to creating startups. They find a problem they want to fix. And for them to be able to find a problem, they need to have the kind of training that can help them identify a problem, understand the problem, and then solve the problem. So it affects our academics from the lower basic or grassroots to the tertiary. If we don't start looking at investment into quality education that can produce the quality of people who have the resources and skills to solve the problem, then no matter how much money we put into wrong people who don't really have what it takes to solve problems to create startups. So I think we need to look at it from a holistic approach from the grassroots to the top. Right.
Thank you very much, Joshua, for your submission. So, the conversation has, really evolved, and would love to hear from everyone here. If you have any questions, we are very open, and we have our experts here to answer any questions you have. And then also to my lovely panelists, I'd like us to think about what are the low-hanging fruits, what are the things that we can do now, right, in terms of our respective spaces, and what can we do to basically, drive forward collaboration from a local perspective but that can make a global impact, right? So that's something I'd like you to have in mind before, we'll wrap up here. Please.
Thank you very much. I think this is my first question for the day. So my question is basically driven towards the MTN rep. Africa has this trade policy. We want to trade amongst ourselves, and I believe technology is a key component in that aspect. And I know MTN and other telcos are positioning themselves in that regard. I want to know whether I believe MTN is in at least Nigeria. So, in Africa, especially for West Africa, we are more of two, Francophone, Anglophone, and there are barriers to that, and technology is a way to also bridge that barrier. In trade, in terms of money or finance, we'll be trading amongst ourselves, and we need cross platforms in that regard. Is MTN, like, once you are here, I can't tell for the other telcos, are they thinking in that regard so that indigenous companies within this ecosystem can also innovate around it? I hope I can get a comment on that. Thank you.
Yes, so yes, of course we are present in Nigeria. Nigeria is our largest market in Africa, and we collaborate with them. Actually, I think will be announced soon that the current head of mobile money in Ghana will move to Nigeria, will become the head of mobile money in Nigeria. So we always collaborate, we share talents, and we would like to do more, especially on mobile money transfer. The problem is that the technology is there, we can enable it like that, but there are policies around forex currency that we go beyond what we can do. So until some of these policies are reviewed to really enable simple cross-country transactions, then it's not going to be easy to really enable all these use cases. But there are plenty of use cases around e-commerce, around payments, around many things. And we also, especially on payments, all these things about some of these international companies, the payments in dollars is becoming a big issue considering where the CDs is going. And but we need the policies from the government to come together with the technology. So in many things, I mean, Ghana is way ahead of many other countries if you look at the fintech sandbox and all these things, but there's still a lot of room to really improve and do better, I guess.
Hello. Please. Yeah, my question goes to the MTN person. And it will be very direct, but it will be related to other fields. I'm a beekeeper. And we have other people in other businesses. Some are cropping different maize and the rest. Most of people in production are scattered. And we don't have their data. We don't know where they are. If, for example, a company from Turkey or something wants 5 tons of honey, we cannot produce. Not that we cannot produce. People are produced, but they are in their villages. We don't know them. Is it possible that MTN can sponsor to organize producers in their special fields, so that we have a platform whereby trading can go on? Because if you are then trading in in business, because you have organizers and we are trading, you will definitely get your percentage here and there, both for local and export. Are you prepared to do that for us? This one is direct. It can be for maize and other crops, but this one, I'm a beekeeper, so mine is direct. After this one, I'll beat you on that.
So there are a couple of things. The first one is, as you know, we have our MTN foundation, and in the next few years and few months, you will see that the project that we are going to sponsor with the foundation will become more and more towards enablement of ICT projects similar to what you're thinking about. So the key thing is if there is a group and a project can be put together and submit to the foundation, I think maybe up until last year would have been potentially rejected, but again, the focus of the foundation is moving more and more on enabling this type of projects. On the other hand, again, what we are trying to do is to make sure that anybody who wants to build a business for these, we will be able to help them with our APIs, mobile money, everything. Whether we are going to build it, I don't know. I mean, the foundation for sure, but as the private part of the business, I think would be a bit outside our remit. But what we want to do is to make sure that if there is a platform, an entrepreneur who sees this potential, they could then easily use our platform to then build the trading platform that you're thinking about. I hope I answer your question.
Yeah, I was going to jump in a little
sure.
bit on that one, Dairo. Sir, there's an organization that Waiter Group works with. So as part of Waiter Group, which is part of the organizers for this, we have a beekeeping community. It's called Rubik. So far, there's about 150 bee keepers in that community. Yes, in Ghana. And what we are currently doing is locating beekeepers in the different regions, those in small and large scale, to be able to meet the demand for honey in export. So the goal for Rubik is to make honey Ghana's second largest export after cocoa. So I think talking to Dairo is excellent in looking at how best we can look at technology, but you need to talk to these guys as well, because they can become an enabler for Rubik to be able to help you a position, which is why we're having this conversation, right? Collaboration Unbound, so very important. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Please, my question is to our facilitator from STEM. We've been talking about STEM cybersecurity. Statistics are showing that I think Ghana is ranked third in terms of the use of social media. And when it comes to work, it is ranked 15th, that's globally. Technology has fast advanced, and society is embracing it, the children are embracing it, we are using it for learning and all these things. So it looks like most groups and institutions are focusing on how to ensure that the children embrace or students embrace what technology. But I want to know from your angle how best STEM is collaborating and integrating cybersecurity into the development of STEM, because this is very crucial. Otherwise, a point will come, all these people or the efforts that is being put into the STEM project will become a fiasco because they become vulnerable within the cyberspace. Thank you.
So I will talk on the STEM, and he will talk about the protection and safety on the internet. So when we talk about STEM or STEAM, the social media is one element of it. That's a technology. And even technology, social media is still a piece of the whole technology value chain. But science, STEM, we're looking at science, technology, arts, engineering, mathematics, and making all this learning very practical, experiential, and project-based oriented. That's STEM. So these are sort of a learning environment where there's no chewing and pouring, but there's understanding, there's collaboration, there's teamwork, there's creativity, there's innovation, and in so doing, our minds are rewired for learning. Just like every kid who wants to learn how to walk will have to try and fall several times before they learn how to walk. And once they are good at walking, they start running, jumping. The same way the brain on learning has to be experimental. So you try, you fail, you learn, then you gain more skills, your brain rewired for learning, then you get to learn complex things and solve problems. That's the objective of STEM. The reason why it's needed is because we're living in a world called VUCA world. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's obvious, it's ambiguous, and it's uncertain, like in complex too as well. So for the younger generation to be able to survive in this kind of world, they need to have what we call the 21st century skills. The communication, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and all that. And that's why STEM education has been proven to be the kind of education that can help students acquire these skills. The World Economic Forum had a report on the future of work. They said students in the primary school will end up working in an industry which are yet to be created. So the question is, how do you prepare students today for jobs that are yet to be created or do not exist? That's why we need education such as STEM. On the security part, I'll hand over to our speaker here. He has much expertise in the field.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. It's a great question, and it's one that needs to be addressed. Like he mentioned in regards to innovation, and like I was saying, how cybersecurity is now catching up. I believe now when we talk about innovation, cybersecurity must be included in it. If someone's going to create a new app, the question is, well, who's going to break it? And you must always think about that when you're creating something. How can I break this after I create it? Because then once you figure how you break it, then you fix it. Because if you leave these types of vulnerabilities open, then someone else is going to take advantage of it. I know growing up, I wanted to kind of be a software developer and create software and all that stuff because I thought it was an amazing thing. But then I realized that it was only it's like a half glass full thing. Hey, it works. And that's all I care about. But then you come back later and look at all the vulnerabilities when someone tests your software and go, well, this is going to compromise people's network. And if you want to sell this product, businesses are going to say, have you did testing on it? Has it been tested? And what's the benchmarks? And how often will you be updating the software because things get outdated? What used to be able to work on one port now needs to work on multiple ports because this one could be compromised. So I would say in part of innovation and educating the up-and-coming engineers and the up-and-coming innovators, it should be almost like, just like when we're teaching coding, and you're saying you have to put this here for this to open this door, and then you add the security piece. Now how are you going to lock it? And just include that in part of the education so that it's ingrained, and therefore there's no need to reinvent the wheel. And then for those who are already creating, put a $sign on it. If I tell a developer, it's going to cost this much money for you to create this thing, this software for this company. But if I have to tell you, but if you did it before adding cybersecurity, guess what? Now the company's got to pay more money to secure the software that they already paid for. So do you think they're going to come back to you again because you didn't do the due diligence and making sure that the software was protected and put all the fail safes that needed to be put in. So in regards to that and innovators, a lot of people operate on how much is it going to cost me. So when I talk to CEOs and other higher ups, I always try to use that as the catalyst as to why do I need this. I said, well, would you rather spend $20,000 to get this software the way it needs to be, or lose $100 to $200 million because you didn't secure it? And that in itself speaks volumes, because that's what they want to hear. How can I save money by using a specific thing? So that's how I think cybersecurity will be impacted. But again, it has to be something that is ingrained and has to be reinforced. Just like we tell our children when they grow up, don't talk to strangers, don't do this, make it safe. When you're building things, add those in place. You have a child playing with an app, you might want to secure it to make sure that no one else can, if it has a camera function on it, make sure that there's some type of two-factor authentication that the parent gets to know if the child's using the device and the camera cuts on. The parent must approve the camera cutting on. Just something that simple can help your app go a long way in regards to providing safety for someone's privacy. You know, it's just an example. And great question.
Any other question? Okay. Yeah, I think Jamel just kicked off, the final part or the final submission, which were the low-hanging fruits. And gathering from what you said, a low-hanging fruit from cybersecurity will be teaching cybersecurity from like day one, right, for software developers, right? So right from ground zero, the dollar is in the details from what you said, right? I'd just like to hear from, the remaining three of you. What are low-hanging fruits that you feel, you and, we as an ecosystem can incorporate to help us globalize, yeah?
Okay. For me, I would say that collaboration, the whole conversation is about collaboration, right? And I was speaking to Jamal earlier today, and first of all, we need to fix our mindset about collaborating with people. And one of the things that I've struggled with is you try and do something with someone, it doesn't go well, and then you have this negative mindset about how is this even going to work, right, with the next person. And it's something that we all face, right? When we're trying to collaborate with people and it doesn't work, we're trying to collaborate with, and we get big no's, and then we say, oh, maybe it's just how it is in Ghana. So when you're doing something, instead of looking at the next person, right? So let's say I have a service that I can provide to your team, and you need my service, but then you would rather try and do it yourself because you don't want to collaborate with anyone. And this is one of the things that leads to us building startups that don't go anywhere, right? Because there's no passion behind it. We're trying to solve a temporary problem that we're not really interested in. And sometimes this leads to an inflow of a whole lot of startups that can't be scalable, okay? And the reason why we're struggling right now is because we haven't learned to properly collaborate. And we see this trend a lot. You see an inflow of startups and they are not scalable, okay? They cannot get investors because they don't have the numbers. So we need to work together to see how best we can elevate what we're doing, right? If I and Kelvin, right, Kelvin and I, we can come together and build something that can be sustainable, can be scalable, why should I then sit down in my corner and then try and build it myself because I'm not feeling confident enough? I feel like Kelvin will scam me. So at the end of the day, I wouldn't, he will scam you, please. So at the end of the day, you end up building something and it's half-baked. So when you go into the market trying to find investors, the investors they don't talk about your passion. They are not ready to talk about passion. They are ready to talk numbers, right? So they are asking, what are the numbers? What can you bring to the table? And then you haven't even tested it out, right? Because you haven't even done your market research properly. You haven't done your product market fit properly. And then you want a scalable business. And then they are asking you, how are you going to get to this point? You say you are going to get us $10,000 at the end of this month. Please, how are you going to get it? And then you start fumbling because you haven't really done the research. Because people think being an entrepreneur is, oh, you wake up one day and then you start something and that's it. A lot of learning goes into it. Before you start, you need to make sure that you have fortified this side before you can say that, hey, I'm coming into the market to be impactful, right? How do you even measure impact? So one of the things that you should also consider is proper planning, right? I see a lot of people and then you ask them, what in the next 3 months, what are you trying to do? And then they don't know, right? Because they've built a business on some thoughts. But you should be able to tell me that as a business, right? You should be able to tell any investor when they come in today that this is how much I'm making right now. This is how much I can make with this amount of money if you invest into the company. And so we shouldn't just sit down in our corners. If you don't know, okay, or you don't have the information, partner with someone, collaborate with someone that has the knowledge on how to do market research, how to do product market fit, how to do all these things that you don't know how to do, right? There's no point in sitting down and not saying you don't know, right? When you want to go far, you have to go with people, right? You have to go with people. And let's not just sit down and say, oh, I'm thinking of the benefits for just myself. And I think that's what bothers us a lot here. We think of ourselves first, right? And it's fine to think of yourself, but when you think of other people as well, it helps you. It moves you faster because the information, there's power in information, right? The people that you network with, the people that you collaborate with, the people that are in your circle should be people that give you information that you don't know how to get yourself. You should be able to collaborate with people that you know are very resourceful. That sometimes it's not even about money. It's about someone telling you that, hey, move this thing here. If you move it here, people are going to see you and then buy from you. But then we choose to sit and then wait on different things and see how it's going to go, right? And if you are here and your business is not in the digital space, please, you see me after, I'll help you. Because I don't get why your business shouldn't be in the digital space. You should be in the digital space. Even if you are a farmer, right? Learn how to push your business into the digital space. There are so many startups, right, that are promoting farmers and things like that. So you have to learn how to collaborate so that you can be seen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Final words from Dario and Josh.
No, the only thing for us is that I think it's our duty as MTN to accelerate our transformation to become a platform so that we are a real enabler of the digitization of the country, startups, farmers, everything. So I think it's just our duty. We have to do better and faster.
Okay. 30 seconds.
I also think there's a challenge with mindset because right from the classroom, when you share your answers, we call it cheating. You get punished for that. So in the classroom, before you probably be out of university, we've been taught that sharing knowledge and resources, your friend will beat you. So you don't want your friend to beat you. You want to be the top of your class. So I think mindset is a very big challenge when it comes to collaboration. And that's where we develop from. So when we're out of school and I start my company, I'm not going to share my idea with you because you take it and run with it. Because that's how we've been trained from the classroom. So I think mindset is a very critical thing we have to look at And if we're going to change and be more collaborative, we need to start from the classroom. I'm a believer that education is the most powerful tool that we can use to change the world. So if we can start reshaping mindset to embrace collaborative learning, and assessment is not based on the intelligence you have to pass exams, but how best you can work together as a team to solve a problem, then we can have companies and businesses coming out with that mindset of always working together and sticking together and growing the ecosystem. So until we change our mindset from the classroom, it's going to be hard to build a collaborative ecosystem.
All right, thank you.
Hello, yes. Okay, I wanted to kind of piggyback on the great answers that they gave and kind of put the cybersecurity piece on top of it. Cybersecurity isn't just about protecting data, it's about systems. So in order for, say, Crofo Systems to understand how to protect your data, we must first understand how data flows through your system. So when we have innovators that want to create startups, that want to start something, the question to ask is, well, what system are you using to create? How does that system sustain it? And then how can that system expand? So if an innovator came to me and said, yeah, me and a team of other businesses are working together, okay, well, explain your system to me. How does the data flow between you and them and to the customer? That is a good way that investors would like to hear that because, okay, you're not the single point of failure. So there's more people involved in the collaboration of this product, not just you. So that's something they really want to hear. If they hear one person say, it's just me by myself, okay, what happens if you get sick? Then the company folds, you know? So we're all about trying to make things as systematically efficient as possible. So when we're dealing with cybersecurity, it's not just about the data, it's about how things flow and how to make them more efficient. So these are the things that we must understand when we collaborate. And you don't have to be in the same field in order to collaborate. For example, like she was saying before, I do marketing branding. Okay, I do cybersecurity. And he has a B company that he's trying to figure out how to get it onto the internet. Well, I say this for anybody that wants to get into global marketing or get into be in the global digital space. Once you're in the global digital space, you are no longer a local business. You are an international business. The minute you have that .com and you're up there, that means everybody in the world, if your SEOs are right, will see you, which means that you are a target internationally. You must always think about that in protecting your information and protecting your company. So those are things that people are trying to figure out as to what's the best way to secure my company or secure my startup, and who should I go to? And that's the question. Who? It's not you. You shouldn't have to think about these things and figure them out. There are experts out there already that can give you the answers and can give it to you at a reasonable price or give it to you the way you would like it through a consultation. So I would recommend to not waste the time figuring out how to do a specific thing. Focus on the innovation itself and then collaborate with the experts that can help you grow your business. And they will tell you who you should team up with and tell you who you should put on your team for this. So you have, and think of it as teams. A good example, cars. I like group interaction. So cars, what do you think is the most important piece on a car? Anybody can answer. Engine, brake, engine. No, it's not the engine, because what good is the engine if it's got no wheels? It's not, everything plays a part. The car is an entire system in itself to do what? Get you from one place to the other. So you must think of it that way. Don't look at this, and this is in major corporations as well when I talk to CEOs. That janitor is just as important as your CEO, because he keeps your building clean when people walk in there. So you have to understand what part they play and how important they are when you are in business or when you are trying to start a business. Everything's developed around systems, and nothing survives without a system. So from a cybersecurity perspective, which is why I say it needs to be ingrained as a way of life. It should be something that is ingrained in you when you do it. When you pick your phone up, cybersecurity should be on the forefront of everything you do, from opening up a link to sending a text to taking a picture of something. All those things need to be thought about, and it shouldn't be too, what's the word I'm looking for? It shouldn't be a brain drain, you know, because we do things now, we just do it habitually, and that's some of us want to get that across, that work in the cybersecurity field, it should just be a habit. It shouldn't be something that you're constantly thinking about. And the best way to do it is, for us it's kind of late, but to get the younger youth at an early age to think cybersecurity every time they're trying to innovate and create. So I just wanted to get that piece out because I think it's very important for the audience to hear that and those who are watching.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'd like to invite the Vice President of Waited Group to give us final words before we depart here.
I guess today we're just trying to be like on the other side and not say anything, because we have like this powerhouse of speakers. But first of all, on behalf of Waited Group and Ijula, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for joining our session and for amazing panelists for making the time out of your very, very busy schedules to join us here. The topic collaboration Unbound, a gateway for globalizing the Ghana digital ecosystem in Ghana is a very important conversation. It shouldn't be one that is spoken during Ghana Digital Innovation Week alone. It should be one that should be a consistent conversation in your organizations, in your startups, in your networks, and in your hubs. Because over time, when you look at industries and organizations that have thrived, they thrive in their ability to collaborate. MTN now having MTLT Go airtime in their app, you can imagine how much that would skyrocket their interaction, their user, their revenue, amongst other things. The likes of Apple and Microsoft becoming trillion-dollar companies had to be a major collaboration with both, people coming together. So Ghanaian ecosystem needs to work together. And I think Joshua made a very valid point, and I'll end on that note. We were taught to not work together right from our education, primary and secondary school. Oh, if you come to me, he's going to copy me. He's going to steal my idea. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. And one of the things I always say, people, whether I'm sitting in a pitch for $10, $20 million, or I'm judging, or I'm consulting to organization, I always say you have the opportunity to either talk to somebody and get it far, or just let it, die. And one of the things I've learned is over time is when you open yourself up a little bit more to ask questions, talk to experts, you always find a way to grow and scale. All of these people here, I know them in different capacity. I mean, we have the head of digital for MTN. That's a big deal, sitting right here, so cool and chilled and answering all of your questions. That's due to meeting somebody like Mark sitting right here, and that's how I met Dairo, and, meeting Jamil and Diane. And it's a very small ecosystem, but a very effective one if you know exactly what you bring to the table. And what you bring to the table needs to be value. It needs to be for you to be open-minded. It needs for you to be able to know that together you can grow and you can scale. The Ghana digital space is struggling. I'm not going to lie to you. The Nigerians, Egypt and Kenya, you hear out the ecosystem that's thriving. People are raising money. Businesses are growing, unicorn. And I sit back and I look at Ghana and I'm like, what are we doing? We're just like, oh, Mommy, let me do it small, small, small. We need to stop being modest and start being radical about the choices that we want to make. We want to be able to collaborate and use opportunities like this. He talked about beekeeping, and there's the man there wearing white. He's the head for the Rubik I was telling you about, so you can talk to him. So there are opportunities to collaborate and to co-create, and we need to be able to tap into them. So thank you all so much. Kelvin mentioned Ijula is a co-working communities for creatives, so find us. We're at 14 Hatcho Atomic Road, and if you have digital, please find us on social media. It's Experience Ijula, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we look forward to connecting with you once again. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.